Boker Tov, everyone. Thanks for coming today, this morning. In the month of Kislev, we're learning, sponsored by the Gantavniks in honor of Eliana's Bat Mitzvah, by the Aron family, Lili Nishmas Levi ben Yosef, for the Refuah Shlema of Shoshana Yona Bas Edo, by the Silvers, in Lili Nishmas Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, and by the Hershkowitzes, Lili Nishmas Shlomo Leib ben Rafael Gedalia, and by the Finns, for the Atzlacha and Shmir of all of our tzaddikim, the Chayalim HaKadoshim, and for the Refuah Shlema of them, David Netanel ben Ayala Ahuva, Tzvi David ben Tamar Malia, Ro'i Chaim ben Meirav, Achia ben Yael Chaya, Tov Shmuel ben Avi Anava, and Avram Yaakov ben Dvora Fega. All right, let's pass these pages out. What we're going to be doing today in our series about the davening of women is a very obvious topic that comes up quite often. And it's something that I'm sure you've thought of. I've gotten asked the following question a number of times, and that is, what's the deal with that bracha in Birkos HaShachar that women say that men don't say? Huh? You know, very easy question to address. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'asani kirtzono. I'm not talking about Shelo Asani Isha, I'm talking about She'asani Kirtzono, right? And today is not going to be so much about why do the men say Shelo Asani Isha. It's more, let's focus on the Pnimiyut of this bracha, She'asani Kirtzono. Now it happens to be, Baruch Hashem, that in the context of this week, it really, really fits in, and I'll try to explain why. This week, as you all know, was Yud Tes Kislev. And it seems that this yontiv of Yud Tes Kislev is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
It doesn't end.
Sorry?
It doesn't end.
No, it doesn't end.
There's another version.
It doesn't end. It's non-stop. You just take a look at what happened in Binyanei HaUmah this last week and a half. It's not to be believed. But it's not just there. It's all over the place. And the question that comes up is really, what is it really all about, Hare? How much percentage of the people that celebrate Yud Tes Kislev are Chabad, which is really the ones that made Yud Tes Kislev? Because, I don't know, I saw tens of thousands of people celebrating Yud Tes Kislev that didn't look to me, Lubavitch. So what is going on? And I saw people that don't even look, that they have anything to do with Hasidus, per se. Ma kesher? What is this? What's in the air? What is going on over here? Obviously, we're very much plugged into that here in our kehillah, to the light of what Yud Tes Kislev comes to represent, which is disseminate the teachings, ufaratzta, just a plug-in for our campaign that's still going strong, that we need everyone's help with today. Today's the day that we really have to, it's a 36-hour campaign, and we have to go strong today. And I'm so proud of all the chaver that have been involved until now. And today we really need everyone's help to take it to the next level. Ufaratzta, it's an inyan of spreading this teaching, spreading this light. What teaching? What light? What are we speaking about when we say ufaratzta? And bichlal, if I'd ask you, what is the chiddush of Chassidus? What is the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov? So you're going to tell me, well, you have to be b'simcha. The Baal Shem Tov he didn't have to come down to the world to tell us you have to be b'simcha. Or you'd say, the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that you have to sing more nigunim, or that davening has to be better. I don't think that's why a neshama like the Baal Shem Tov had to come down to the world in order to give us over that Torah. There's something deeper. A word that's being used all over the place right now. Pnimiyut haTorah, the inner realm of Torah. Through today's teaching from the Bial Rebbe, we will see just that in the context of our learning about the Ma'ala of Tfilat Nashim, about women's davening. And we're going to see something beautiful. So, a little bit of this may seem like it's a chazara, that we're not repeating, but we're reviewing and going over key elements of this sefer, of this series. And I think we're going to be able to answer that question. What does that bracha really mean? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, she'asani kirtzono, and why men don't say that bracha. Okay, but we're only going to see that at the end. Let's go inside. Asiyat Ratzon Hashem Yitbarach, doing the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nitba'er, we've learned it's become clear, כי תכלית עבודתנו הוא עשיית נחת ruach לבורא יתברך. The purpose of us being of Day Hashem, having a life that's committed to Torah and mitzvos, is to bring nachat ruach to Hashem. Is to bring nachas to Hashem. Did your parents ever tell you, you bring me so much nachas? Or, your brother brings me so much nachas? Your sister brings me so much nachas, right? We hear that word nachas, and if we think that we're giving Hashem we're giving our parents nachas, our Rebbe nachas, that's one of the most beautiful statements. Like, you bring me nachas, you bring me nachat ruach. The point of everything we're doing is to bring Hashem nachat ruach. But now let's explain. Ki be'inyan asiyat retzon Hashem yitbarach yesh kama dargot. When it comes to doing the will of Hashem, there are a few levels. Yesh ma she'adam chayav al pi din, ve'yesh ma she'adam mosif lifnim bishurat adin. There are things a person is obligated to do in accordance to the letter of the law, and then there are those things that a person adds that are above and beyond the letter of the law. כי גם דברים שמצד הדין מותר לעשותם, also, because when it comes to certain things that maybe you're allowed to do, לפעמים רצון השם הוא שאדם יבין מעצמו שלא לעשותם. Sometimes it's the will of Hashem that a person should come to the understanding on their own that they shouldn't do it. Can anyone give any examples of that? That maybe according to the law, you're allowed to do it, but Hashem wants you to realize, but you really shouldn't. Like what? To rebuke. Okay. Interesting. Like if you wake up in the morning and you say, Ribbon Shalom, I'm burning for Torah and mitzvos. I'm burning for Torah and mitzvos. You know, the mitzvah that I want to bring you so much nachas ruach today is find me that sinner and let me just rip into them. Right? That can't be. Mazel tov. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. Elchanan Yitzchak. Mazel tov. Is this his first shir?
This is his first shir.
Oh, wow. Daniela, you remember?
You beat me.
Okay, so that's a good one. Tochecha. I wake up in the morning and I say, Ribbon Shalom, I want to do your will. There's a mitzvah in the Torah called rebuke. Okay, so obviously Hashem wants us to understand, maybe you got to check in with your desires and what really gets you excited, because if rebuke is what gets you excited, something's off. What else could be an example of this?
So I have a very strong one.
Okay.
I see when we're driving on the roads and you have the people who cut in and stuff like that, even though they're allowed because the line is broken, stuff like that. Like sometimes you need to be a mensch and you gotta wait in line. Like I feel like Hashem. That's where I feel everyone's troubling.
Okay.
Like sometimes like respect other people.
Yeah. Atzlacha with that. That's not. Yeah.
I have another one. That's
Yeah.
what this is what you're referring to. But rushing into Hadlakat Road as opposed to doing it like being ready before and doing it benachat.
So that's interesting. These are things that can be done better. Nachon. Those are things that could be done better. I'm still looking for an example where it's something that al pi din you're allowed. I guess it does fit in here, meaning you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to rush into Hadlakat Nerot because you're getting it. You're going to end up doing it at the right, the right moment. But the thing is that, is that really what Hashem wants? Obviously the answer is no. Obviously the answer is no. Okay, what else could be a thing that al pi din you're allowed to do, but Hashem doesn't want you to do it? What's that?
Scrolling on your phone.
Scrolling on your phone. You're allowed to. Right. Okay. That's very good.
I recently heard a piece about that, but that is all in the category of Lashon Hara, that we're inadvertently participating in Lashon Hara by being on our phone and social media and all that comes.
Right, but then you'd say that Hashem says you're not allowed to. I'm talking about things that al pi din you would be allowed to.
Well, you're allowed to be on your phone.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I guess there's a lot of different examples over here. What about, I see this when I'm in the States, not mainly it's not in the States, like, did you ever go to a smorgasbord at a wedding in the States recently? No? I mean, smorgasbord,
I did.
a smorg in Eretz Yisrael is like you get some pickles and crackers and hummus, right?
I did. I went to one in
Yeah.
LA.
So, al pi din, are you allowed to fress, mamish, like go all out at a smorgasbord? Why not?
Well, there's a
What's the
man of
halacha?
gluttony, and I don't know if you
What's the halacha of gluttony? Yeah, if you find me the halacha of gluttony, I really appreciate it. So the Alter Rebbe in the Tanya does speak about all these things. That it's a very deep sugi in the Tanya that speaks about the things that bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu tremendous nachas. We think it's when we refrain from doing things that are asur. But that'd be a little bit too easy. That's like a nice checklist thing. The nachas counter, the nachas, whatever, the nachas calculation, has much more to do, what's that? Thank you. Nachas meter has much more to do with things that maybe you're allowed to, but you know that you shouldn't, and you understand it. You understand it from yourself. I mean, the greatest realization would be al pi din. Are you allowed to live in Chutz La'aretz? Can someone tell you that it's asur to live in Chutz La'aretz?
Halacha even says 3 reasons why you can move there. So 3 reasons.
Of course, no, I'm talking about not moving to Chutz La'aretz. We were born. How many people were born in Eretz Yisrael in this room? You were? No, none of us. None of us were. I'm talking. Was there any din that there's a chiyuv that we had to come here? So we see that it's coming from a place of, well, I understand, though, that the ratzon of Hashem is that I should. These are the things that bring such tremendous nachat ruach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I mean, the easy one is like, I have to go to shul and I have to daven, right? So I can go to a shul and I can daven, and I could be yotze, and the davening is whatever, it doesn't really matter, but I davened for a man, right? Or I could say, but Hashem Yitbarach, I want to give you nachas. I don't just want to fulfill a commandment, I want to give you nachas. Or I can go to shul and think about right now what kind of davening you would want. What would it look like to bring you nachas? These are very important things. Now, we're basically in the 4th line over here, the end of the 4th line. Daniela, do you mind closing the door, please? Just. Oh, that one's, it's clogged? It's stuck? Thank you. Shkoyach. End of the 4th line. V'chen mitzvot she'adam patur mesiyatam. There are mitzvahs that you are exempt from. This is something that's come up very often in this year. That sometimes, lefamim retzon Hashem sheyasam. But it could be that it's the ratzon of Hashem that you should do it, even though you're patur, right? Aliza does not have to be in a shir right now after giving birth a few minutes ago, right? There's no inyan here that you're fulfilling an obligation, right? But there's a ratzon. So, look what he says here. This is very important. Ach sibat hadavar shelo nifsak hadavar la'alacha. But the reason that the things that you're exempt from wasn't paskened as a halacha, כי היה רצון השם יתברך שיעשה האדם מרצון ומאהבה למען שמו יתברך. Because the inner desire of Hashem is that you end up doing what you're doing from ratzon, from will, and from love for Hashem's name. ולא רק מפני שהוא מחויב בדבר. And not only because you're obligated to do it. Let's go back to Eretz Yisrael for a second, because it's always, it's always the most sensitive thing over here. When it comes to Eretz Yisrael, is there a chiyuv to move to Eretz Yisrael? No. Is there a mitzvah of dwelling in the land? Yes. Well, it's a machlokas, really, Ramban and Rambam, but we hold that it's a mitzvahs yishuv haaretz. What would be the disadvantage, or what would be the weak point if there was a chiyuv, halachically, that you have to move to Eretz Yisrael? Think about it. What would be lacking from the potency of something like that? Huh? Ratzon. So when it comes to like the deepest things in life, it would be like shallow for Hashem to say, and this thing that gives me the most nachas in the world, and that changes the world, and that this is the thing that you must do. Yes.
אפשר בעברית?
בטח.
פשוט בדיוק ביום ראשון היה שיעור לבנים לפני בר מצווה, יש כזה תוכנית באור פניך,
כן.
אז בדיוק דיברנו, מה ההבדל בין ילד לפני בר מצווה, שכאילו שהוא עושה דברים, בין אחרי. אז כאילו זה ממש...
זה ממש קשור.
אז הוא אמר, מתי שאתם ממש מחויבים, זה יותר משובח מאשר שאתם לפני גיל 13.
נכון.
זה בדיוק השאלה, כאילו
נכון, נכון. המבחן הכי גדול זה איך אנחנו מעבירים לילדים שלנו, שנהיים בני בר מצווה, לשמור על הרצון הזה, גם כשהם חייבים לעשות משהו. לפני בר מצווה אין חיוב, אבל אנחנו רוצים לחנך אותם שהם ירצו, נכון? כל הסוד של יהדות זה איך אנחנו נותנים לילדים שלנו את הרצון, גם כן כשהם כבר חייבים לעשות משהו.
אז הוא בדיוק נתן דוגמה שהוא הגיע לאיזשהו כפר, שהיו שם אנשים שפתאום החליטו שהם עושים דברים מיהדות, הלבישו תפילין ועשה כזה רצון וזה, ואז פתאום לא בא להם יום אחד לא לעשות, כאילו הם עושים את זה בשבילם, בשביל קשר, ואנחנו עושים את זה בעיקרון ליש. כאילו השם לא צריך את זה, אבל...
בשביל נחת רוח להשם. זה
בדיוק
בדיוק זה. אנחנו נמשיך להבין את העניין. So now he brings the Ramchal in מסילת ישרים to help us understand this better. כמו שכתב בספר הקדוש מסילת ישרים, פרק י"ח, the 18th chapter מסילת ישרים, כללו של דבר בין כל מי שהאהבה ביניהם עזה באמת. How does it work when there's mamish passionate love? שלא יאמר, לא נצטוויתי יותר, די לי במה שנצטוויתי בפירוש. Listen. I wasn't commanded to do more than what the ketubah is, let's just say like for that, right? What the ketubah says. The ketubah says, I have to make sure that you're dressed, right? Dafilu miglima da'al ktefai. I have to make sure that I provide you malbush. It doesn't say anywhere in the ketubah that I have to let you sleep in when you're exhausted. It doesn't say that anywhere in the ketubah. I'm an honest Jewish husband. I fulfill my obligations, right? You understand? The klal is that when it comes to love, no one's trying to be yotzei yedei chova. In that kind of relationship, it'll never work. Just trying to be yotzei yedei chova, it doesn't work. And with Hashem Yisbarach, it's the same exact thing. Daili b'ma shenitztaveti b'pirush. I could say it's enough what I was explicitly commanded to do. Ela mima shenitztava, but rather look at the things that you were commanded to do. Yadun al da'at mitzvah. Think deeply on the knowledge that's behind the mitzvah. V'yishtadel la'asot lo ma sheyuchal ladun sheyeh lo lenachat. And then start thinking in nachas terminology. What really would bring nachas in this story? What would take it to a place of nachat ruach? Vehine, and again, this is all answering the question, I think, what is the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov? The Baal Shem Tov put an emphasis on something. His emphasis wasn't, we have to be better halachic Jews. Everyone was halachic Jews back then. That wasn't the emphasis. The emphasis, what? We want to be nachas giver Jews. Wow, what does that mean? And then you start learning the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, and you really realize that's actually what I'd rather be than just making sure that I'm checking boxes all the time. So the Biala Rebbe continues here and he says, Many people are doing what Hashem commanded, what they're obligated to do and not more. What's this called? B'fchinat oseh mitzvat boro. I'm doing the commandment of Hashem, ve'eino oseh retzono. But I may not be doing what Hashem wants. I'm doing the mitzvahs, but I may not be doing what Hashem wants. How could you say such a statement? Aren't the mitzvahs what Hashem wants? You know what Hashem wants? Rachmana liba bai. Hashem wants your heart to be there. Rachmana liba bai. I'll share with you a beautiful, beautiful moment that happened last week in Yerushalayim. I was privileged. I brought Hanan Ben Ari to Rav Weinberger for a private meeting. And I brought a guitar with me to make sure that if there was a chance there that something could happen, it would be Shayach. Hanan has the most gorgeous songs in the world. But he also has a bunch of nigunim that he hasn't shared. It's not really where he's at right now in what's being published and v'chulei. And but I know these nigunim, many of them, and they're gewalt. And I asked him, he has one song with 3 words, Rachmana liba bai. Rachmana liba bai. It's a repetition. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous song. And if you really want it, I'll send it to you on video, because I definitely took out my pocket computer for that one. Rachmana liba bai. You could say, no, Rachmana mitzvos bai. When you think about, Rachmana mitzvos bai. Hashem wants mitzvos. And do mitzvos because that's the ratzon of Hashem. And that's what we were told for so many years. Something got lost in the translation of Ma'amad Har Sinai. And then we have teachers like the greats that you have on this wall over here, that are coming down to show you like what your neshama really wants to do in this world. When it knows, it wants to put inside of you an arousal of will to bring Hashem nachat, to bring nachat. And nachat is so much more than just doing mitzvahs. Then people get confused. Then they say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do mitzvahs because it's too robotic for me, and I should just do acts of kindness, which by the way is a mitzvah, but it doesn't sound so frum, so it's easier for me to connect to, right? But there's no 2 ways about it. It all goes hand in hand. The question is, are you trying to just go through this life fulfilling obligations of the body, which would be mitzvah checklists? Or, like we always say, do you want to be yotzei yedei chovas haneshama? Do you also want to say like my neshama, my soul, is also fulfilling its obligation in this world by coming into expression with what I do? And it's clear that we want to be both, not one or the other. We want to be able to do the whole package. So after this crazy statement, Ose mitzvahs boro ve'eno ose ritzono, you could do the mitzvahs of Hashem and not do His will. Ki lashon HaChassid HaYavitz, ki lo kol davar shemutar mitzad adin be'emet ritzon Hashem sheyaseu. It's because truthfully, not everything that's permissible, according to the letter of the law, is really the ratzon of Hashem that you should do. Ve'lo kol davar she'adam patur mitzad adin be'emet ritzon Hashem shelo yaseu. And so too, it can't be that everything that a person is exempt from doing halachically, be'emet, it's the ratzon of Hashem that you shouldn't do it. Meaning,
with having children.
Sorry?
You see with having children.
We gave that example, 100%. 100%. This is, like what I said, this is very much it's a concrete review of a lot of the things we discussed in detail, right? But to think about it outside of the box, and to open our minds and our hearts together, when there's love, when it's a relationship of love, then it's not about making sure that I could say at the end of the day, I did that, I did that, I did that. I could go to sleep. The question is, how did I do that? And how did I do that? And should have I done that? That's the way that we're supposed to be opening our heart. That's the way of the blossoming of the soul. And the soul and the neshama. If you walk into a shul and say to them, the chevra, it could be that Hashem wants you right now, all of you, to actually maybe, I'm scared to say what I'm going to say right now. But I'll say it. Instead, right now, of coming, you're at shul late, or whatever, you came on time, there's a rush, v'chulei. Maybe He wants you to sit in silence for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and just really with dveikus say the words Ribono Shel Olam over and over again. Just say the words Ribono Shel Olam. But what about the Shnia? could it be? Just to say it over and over again. Like Reb David used to sing, right? From Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. Just over and over and over again. Ribono shel olam. Ribono shel olam. Over and over again. To say that over. Could it be? Oy, you're one of those, you drank the Kool-Aid, next thing you know, you're going to tell us Minchal Shabbos. That's this fear that people have. Right? No, next thing is going to be, your wife's going to take off her hair covering. Oh, next thing you know, tzitzis are coming up. It's such outside stuff. It's such an outside way of approaching these things. We're trying to come to a place that I do the mitzvahs of Hashem in a manner that it's also the ratzon of Hashem. Now, let's continue. Now, why are we learning this in this shiur, on a Thursday morning, women's davening shiur? Because, next paragraph, aval hanashim, but women, shehen osot et tzivui Hashem yitbarach b'pshitus ub'tmimus, their way of fulfilling the commandments, the mitzvahs that they're supposed to do, with pshitus and tmimus, lo dai lahen lekayem et tzivui Hashem. It's not enough for them to just say, I'm fulfilling the commandments of Hashem. Rak mevakshot hen lekayem gam et retzon Hashem yitbarach. I want to fulfill your will. Meaning, I want to fulfill, I don't want to just keep mitzvahs, I want to do your will. That's more important to me. This is what you have inside. This is, again, one of these things that it's inherent. It's in the way that Hashem created Zachar and Nekeva. This is something that is there. Where does this come from? Ki yesh behen hachna'a amitit veretzonan lekayem et retzon Hashem. Because inside what's going on is this very real and authentic hachna'a. Hachna'a is an interesting, again, whenever we come to this word hachna'a, let's face it, the English way of saying it is surrendering, but obviously that doesn't sound, unfortunately, doesn't sound so Jewish, but it really is the most Jewish thing in the world. Hachna'a. To say, I'm not holding on to anything anymore. Not I give up, I'm letting it all go, and it's really only you, Hashem. And a woman has this much more naturally than a man does, if a man has it at all even. ולכן גם את אותם הדברים שהם פטורות מהם, או שהם מותרים על פי דין, and therefore those things that they are exempt from, or they're permissible according to din. כמו מצוות עשה שעזרן גרמה, like time-bound mitzvahs. ועשיית גדרים וסייגים לדברי התורה הקדושה, נוהגות הן להדר בהם, לעשותם לפני מישור הסדין, כיוון שהן יודעות שכך הוא רצון בוראן. You know, there's so many halachas, there's so many things I don't even know if you're aware of, that you've taken on, that mitzad hadin, like mitzad just the raw, basic halacha, you don't have to. Now when you're listening to what I said with outside ears, you'll be like, really? Tell me what? Please. Life's hectic. Life's intense. Please let me know what I took on that I don't really have to. I still want to be very much a religious Jew, but let me know what I don't have to do. So, that's not going to be anyone's, at least in this room, that's not going to be anyone's request. But rather, well, let's learn a deeper understanding of why I'm doing all the things that I'm doing. Let me be exposed to this piece of me that naturally shines because it cares about one thing and one thing only. Bringing nachat to Hashem. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. Being connected to the ratzon. Like he ends off in this paragraph, Kevan shehen yodot shekachu retzon boran. I do what I do. I go the extra mile in so many different things because I know that that's really, really what Hashem wants. So someone again would say, well, if that's really what Hashem wanted, why didn't he write that in the Torah? Because can you imagine if a wife tells her husband on Sunday morning, listen, I need you this week to tell me I love you at 5 p.m. on Sundays. On Monday mornings, I'm okay, I could go till like 7 p.m. Imagine if that's what a relationship was like. It'd be horrible. Now, many times, you have relationships where basically it's like the famous joke, you know I love you, you don't need me to tell you, right? That's all outside stuff. Inside stuff is a deep, deep desire, a ratzon, to be connected to the nachas game, which is so much more kedai and so much more beautiful. Bottom paragraph. V'gam be'osei retzon Hashem yesh dargot. And also when it comes to doing the will of Hashem, there are all types of levels. Kmo shekadvu haTosfos, like it says in the Tosfos and Gemara Brachos, she'osin retzono, aval ein osin retzono kol kach, de'enam tzadikim gemurim. There are people that do Hashem's will, but they don't really do the will so much because people aren't complete tzadikim. Shebal madrega na'ala od yoter, a higher level, a person with a higher consciousness, hu mi sheyesh lo et tchunat habitul ve'achna, is someone that embodies bitul and hachna, ki hu oseh et retzon rabo, af kshu neged retzono ha'atzmi. Sometimes, like in Chassidus, we see this quite often. A Rebbe will tell you, you have to do this. This is a shlichus I need you to do. And it's not at all what you want to do. But because your ratzon is mevutal to your Rav's ratzon, you do it. I asked Rav Weinberger before, I asked him like 10 years ago. I said, Rebbe, how do you get people to just follow through with things that are important for you to do, even if it's not their inyan? But it's important for you as the Rav. How do you do it? And he said to Shlomo, that is an inyan of you can't give it over. That's a trust-based relationship that takes time. And that can only happen after a lot of time is spent together and you realize you trust each other. And then when you trust someone and the love is there and you say something, you ask of something, you need of something that really is not really what the person feels like they want to do, there's enough trust and love in the relationship that they say, you know, I'm going to do it. Why? Because it's the ratzon of the person that I love. And I trust the person that I love, the person that's at the head, right? He said it doesn't happen overnight, and you can't give a shiur about it. Meaning you can start giving shiurim. What does it mean to have kavod harav? Hatzlacha rabba, if people, it's not going to happen. That won't be the way that anyone then feels like, wow, I can't wait to give my Rav nachas. And with the real relationships in life, this is what we're aiming towards, that even if it's not my ratzon initially, it becomes my ratzon because it's my companion's ratzon. That's the highest thing. I saw this, sometimes we have examples of couples like this, Anyone that knew Michal Golam alav hashalom, the way Michal and Leah were, it was like, which tzaddik was it? They came to the doctor, his wife's leg was hurting. Of Aryeh Levine, right? Our leg is hurting. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, and he wasn't trying to be cute. He wasn't trying to be cute when he said that. Our leg is hurting. No. Because at a certain point, it's more than, he could have said, I did the right thing. I escorted my wife to the doctor. It's the right thing. Al pidin, we'll find the halacha that says you have to do that when your wife is sick. You can find the halacha that says it. Anachnu me'unyanim beyoter. The Baal Shem Tov wanted to make sure that you have a ratzon to go way deeper than that. Way deeper than that. One time I had a mother come to me and say, I have no idea what happened with my 3 kids. None of them are keep Shabbos anymore. None of them are interested in anything that we raised, she didn't say we raised them on, but anything Torah. I said, well, what was it like growing up? She said, do you know how hard my husband works so that they could go to Jewish schools? I said, yeah, but what? So I understand, but what was the vibe in the house? The vibe was the house is that we always told our kids how hard are the fathers working so that they can go to Jewish schools. Like that's what they heard, right? I said, and I had so much to say at that moment, but I really was just sitting with that and davening. Hashem Yitbarach, how do we take the chinuch to the next level? How do we explain to parents? How do we explain to ourselves that it takes so much more than that? Because Al Pi Din, was he doing the right thing? Were those parents doing the right thing? 100%. And of course, we could go on to a very sensitive subject here in our town, where many, many dedicated, amazing, holy people had the koach to come and make aliyah back in the day. And that was, their whole Yiddishkeit was just the mitzvah of Yeshuva Aretz. But all that may have been enough for them to feel like their souls are on fire. But the kids never had their own inyan of what, the fire. And the parents wondering, how could it be? I don't understand. I gave up my whole life just to make sure my kids live in Eretz Yisrael. Now none of my kids keep Shabbos. It's because it's so much more than that, right? It's so much more than that. And we're still discovering what it's going to take. But it's dependent on ratzon. Not ratzon to fulfill a mitzvah, ratzon to give you nachat. And that's the difference between two. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, because I feel like the more tangible it is, the harder it is. Because you want to give over the beauty to your children, but you're still trying to do it the ahava. Like, there are mitzvot that, like, everyone has their own thing that, like, they fully embrace and they love doing, and it shows. And there are mitzvot that we are supposed to do, but it's harder for us. I would love for my kids to grow up on Erev Shabbos, that the house is not insane and screaming, I'm trying to cook! Because that's how we grew up. At least I know that's what I grew up on.
Anyway,
And
yeah,
to shift it,
yeah.
so my kids see Shabbos bringing in love, but how?
Right.
It'd be really nice.
No, but that you should know. That's like quite often, the conversation goes into, tell me something. What did your face look like getting ready for Yantiv? What did your children see? What was the experience for them? And I'm telling you that, and this is not to make especially people in Chutz La'aretz feel bad with the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're paying for Jewish education. You could give over to your children infinitely more by choosing before Yantiv, a few days before, saying, no matter what, my facial expression on Friday or Erev Yantiv is going to be one that I'm going to be proud of at the end of the day, because that's what my kids are going to see, and you'll give over to them infinitely more Yiddishkeit. Now, how? It starts with one thing. It's a bechira. It's a choice. Now, how to actually get your house ready? You and Yoni and I can talk. I have no idea. Like I have no idea.
There's a lot of things and a lot of mitzvot that are like that. Like, there's something my kids cannot wait to light Hanukkah candles, because they know there's such joy in our faces, in what we do in that first half hour. And then there's mitzvot that are harder.
Because it's not as thrilling, and it's not as, and it's more like kavua, meaning it happens more. Friday happens every week, right? Nachon, but it starts with the bechira of saying, I believe be'emunah shlema, that to give Hashem nachas will be by my children just seeing by the choice that I'm making about my facial expression on Friday. Mamish. At the end of the day, even if not everything's done, you're not going to mechal Shabbos the first 2 hours till everything's done, right? It's not going to happen. The question is, milchatchila, how are you approaching it? And it's a good example what you brought up. I have to think about this all the time. Always. Pesach. Pesach. I'm shocked that we don't have a whole generation that despises Pesach. Mamash. Or do we? I don't know. Maybe we do. I don't know.
It starts from the day after Purim.
That's even late in some places.
Hanukkah.
But you know what? No, but listen. You could start the day after Hanukkah for Pesach. Like, it would actually be even higher. Meaning, like, even like this. It would. The question is, what is important to you? What is important to you? To make sure that your list of what needs to get done is done, or that your children's exposure to your engagement in tradition is lichtig, is filled with light. And it's a bechira. Yeah.
I think from this class I'm just inspired to maybe at least a half hour before Shabbos to just be playing Shabbos music in the house that it, always...
Some women may punch you in the face right now. I'm just saying.
Right.
No. I think it's unbelievable. If you're able to do that, that's unbelievable. En erech lakesef. There's no value even to what you're saying. It's the highest. Alavai. I think what some women would hear that and say, I can't ever imagine that being the story in my house, but why not? Why not? Listen, Shabbos comes in summertime, 7:30. You're schwitzing till 7:30. Shabbos comes in winter, 4:30. You're schwitzing till 4:30, right?
3:59
3:59.
last week.
It was 3:59? It's all a matter of like making a choice like you did, Alex. It must have been a conscious choice to say, this is how it's going to be, right? And we have to do whatever it needs to. Why? Because it's more important for me that my children go into this thing that we're supposed to, Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Right? For some kids, pnei Shabbos, the face of Shabbos, is this most sour, depressing, anxiety-ridden look. That's the face of Shabbos. Shabbos. It's Shabbos in 2 minutes. It's Shabbos in 2 minutes.
Such a difference.
But it's the difference between Yitzias Yidei Chovas Haguf versus I want to bring you nachas, Hashem. It's heavy stuff.
Which is why I gave my example of the halachically.
Betach, 100%. Betach. Okay, let's continue. We're on the bottom over here. The highest level of doing the Ratzon of Hashem Yitbarach is when, even if it's not what you want to do right now, you know this is what Hashem wants and you do it anyway. Like the world tells you, no, it has to become your Ratzon. It's not my Ratzon to fast. It's not an inner will that I have. But there are fast days that this is what we understand, what needs to be done, and therefore I do it. She'adam mevatel et retzono ha'anochi legamre. Now this is the highest level. I'm not saying I or anyone in this room is here in this level of I've completely nullified my own will, and I only do what I do because that's what Hashem wants. Alavai. There are few. I had the privilege of being on what day is today? Thursday. So on Tuesday night, in the presence of someone that I feel as it's just completely removed. There's nothing about him. That's Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg. It's just this constant conscious flow and subconscious flow of the Ratzon of Hashem, because there's nothing inside, no ani. It's just, and then when you clear out all of your stuff, then the flow, there's room for just the Divrei Elokim Chaim to start flowing. I was with them in Kfar Chabad for bringing on every year, Yud Tes Kislev for many years already. This is an 81-year-old Rav who went through, as you know, a kidney transplant last year, began Farbrengeling at about 9, quarter to 9, and out of, I think, Rachmanis on us, he stopped at 2:30. I'm not kidding. I got home at 4. And I drove home in that crazy storm from the Tel Aviv area. And I'm telling you, I was seeing thunder, and I was seeing lightning and thunder the whole drive home. And I felt like I just came from my mother Sinai, which also it says there, Kolos Ubrakim. What a flow! It was surreal. It was unbelievable. V'zo madregat hanashim, and he says, really, this is where women are. You have this. Minesharim kalu u'me'arayot gaveru. La'asot retzon konam bechefes tzuram ki knuot hen el Hashem yitbarach. All these mitzvahs you do that you have no obligation to do, you're not doing it because of women's rights. You're not doing it to show that men and women are equal and they're the same. Thank God they're not the same. Children wouldn't exist if they were the same. Shug in the world. It's you have. There's this like he says here. V'al kenen mevatlot et atzmam לעשות את רצונו בהתמסרות אמיתית. They mevatel themselves to do the ratzon of Hashem with real hitmasrut, complete, you say that, giving of themselves. Sheratzon Adonam, the ratzon of their master, Hashem, doesn't mean here their husbands. Ratzon Adonam, their king, Melech Malchei Melachim, chashuv lahem yoter miratzonan, is more important to them than their own ratzon. Lachen mishtadlot hen lemaleh et retzono. That's why they try so hard to fulfill God's will. Af ksheze neged retzonan ha'atzmi, even when that may be against what they're feeling and what they want. The example given before about childbirth is a very, very good one. It's a very, very good, it's a very important one. And yes, even though we say that a woman curses and swears while she's giving birth that she'll never do it again, therefore she has to bring a korban, right, before, in the time of the Mikdash, Pnimiyut retzonan, they want to keep on bringing nachat ruach to Hashem, and they know they're bringing more Yiddish and Neshamas down into the world in body. Brings so much nachat ruach to Hashem. But that's one example. The mitzvos of Talmud Torah, the mitzvos of davening, the mitzvos, so many different things. This is where it comes from. So when a person like that is standing before Hashem and davening, that it's coming from a place of, I just want to bring you nachas. What could stand in face of that? What could block those tefillahs? A man is standing there and he's working really hard on not feeling too good about himself that he fulfilled an obligation. And davening to Hashem to open his heart to go deeper with the ratzon. But he can't wake up the next morning and say, I don't really have to do this and Hashem will be okay if I don't. No, because you have to. Now we're going to get back to the beginning of his shir. Ube'emet. Ki lo zo bilvad she'anashim knuot hen letzayet levakashat Adonam. It's not just that they are they are completely have achna to obey the orders of Hashem. Ela ki af osot hen et retzono be'en omer v'dvarim. But they do things even when nothing is told or expected of them. Shemaskilot hen, they have the wisdom, bechol matzav, in any given situation, lehavin et retzono, to understand God's will. Not God's will that's written black and white in the Torah. God's will, which is the inner prism of the Torah, which is the Pnimiyut of the Torah. The things that aren't written down black and white, because it'd be too shallow to write them down. Because they're the deepest expressions of love. Do you understand? Is it not clear? It's not clear? It's clear, yeah? If it's not, stop me. We're here to learn, not just to fulfill an obligation of coming to a shir, right? We're here to learn. Ki kach nivreu bitchunat nafsham. The way a woman was created, you have this in your nefesh. And therefore, ve'al kach hen mevarchot she'asani kirtzono. And that's why you say the bracha she'asani kirtzono. What's the outside of the way, just like to tie it all together? What was your I mean, you could tell me, what did you know? What did you learn, or what did you think? What were you told the kavana of the bracha she'asani kirtzono is?
And we don't have to do what all the men have to do. Straight up. They say shalosh ani isha. They don't want to have to deal with what we have to do. Childbirth and all that. And we don't want to have to deal with the mitzvot 3 times a day.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, then it was just the alternative, boys say this, so you just say this one. It's not a point, you don't say that, bracha.
Right, and it's in parentheses underneath.
What do you think?
I grew up in Talis and Akipas, so I was told that bracha was the reason that we don't have a machitza and have women as why conservative Judaism exists. I mean, truth. That's
listen.
That was evident.
It had to. Of course, it's going to exist, because if the alternative is only the outside stuff without ever explaining any of the pnimiyus, then of course you see what's going on in the world. Of course, something like that will emanate. Of course. Ma she'ela bichla. People are shocked as conservative Jews in Reform Judaism. What's your Shabbos? What does your Shabbos look like? What are the brachas you're saying looking like? And you're shocked that other people are saying, maybe it doesn't have to be like this? You're shocked, Bemet? Please. I've met the most sincere. I mean, people think you know half the chevra I'm talking about. The most sincere chevra that for the way the fulfilling mitzvahs was given over to them was so choking that they could not stay there and had to find a different path in Yiddishkeit that still had to do with Yiddishkeit, that wasn't halachic, because no one ever showed them that there's a whole world called nachas. No one ever explained it to them. And that's the deepest thing in the world. So that, just to be very clear, so I can get into a lot of trouble right now. I'm not chas v'shalom for a second saying, and that's the path that we should take. But I want us all to open our hearts and understand that these worlds that left what we call halachic Yiddishkeit, no one ever told them about nachas. No one ever told them about ratzon. No one ever gave over to them the Pnimiyut behind why we do what we do. None of it. There's no way. And now it's our job, from within the world of Torah, from within Yerushalayim, from within the Torah and mitzvos and the halacha, to bring this out. And this, to me, is one of the most clearest examples. That if a woman was told, a man saying Shelo asani isha, and you're saying Shasani Kirtzono, and you give over these outdated pag tokef answers. Pag tokef means expired, like if they're not even expired, they never even were an answer. Meaning, right? Who are you kidding? Who's gonna hold on to Yiddishkeit? So that's why he says over here. This is why the bracha is Shasani Kirtzono, because he's saying Liotam Kirtzono Yitbarach B'Koach Ha'Elyon, that you are one with the ratzon of Hashem, which isn't just fulfilling the mitzvahs, but it's caring about Hashem. What do you want? Shasani Kirtzono. I'm with the ratzon of Hashem.
Which is so much more beautiful. So my question is,
amazing.
You keep on saying, he keeps on teaching how this is part of us, this is who we are as women, but if we weren't raised with it, we weren't taught it in schools, how do we tune into it in ourselves? How do we, if we don't feel connected to this, how
right.
do we open it? How do we
Right. So this is where it gets weird that I'm teaching you this stuff.
Bring in Bina.
That's her name. It's Bina. It takes, it's inner wisdom, 100%. But I cannot and I will not tell a woman how to activate womanhood. I'm just letting you know that it's there. And to empower you. And Baruch Hashem, we're blessed with many, many incredible female teachers that are plugged into this in a very deep way. But first, I'll just tell you one thing. It starts off with your ratzon. How badly do you want this? How badly do you want this? And then it becomes part of your davening before you figure out techniques and methods and everything. How bad do you want this? And I know you do. I know all of you do. But I can't tell you how to activate womanhood. It wouldn't be right. Even if I had shittas, it wouldn't be right. You know what I mean? But just to bring you the awareness of it is what I feel is my job over here. I'm not copping out. But I'm being just, dugri. Dugri. וכיוון שכל מהותן הוא הביטול אל הרצון השם יתברך, since your whole essence is bitul before Hashem, to the ratzon of Hashem, Hashem yitbarach mesayeh ba'adan. Hashem helps you. Sheyed'u et ratzono amiti. Hashem helps you. He lets you know what I really want. When you want to know what Hashem really wants, Hashem says, I'll let you know what I really want. Behind all the mitzvahs and everything. V'yizku l'kaymo b'shleimut, and you merit to mekayim it fully. And then he goes on here, just a whole piece, we have to end, but there's a whole piece over here where he explains that this is exactly what the Baal Shem Tov brought down to the world, that the ikar of the Torah Kedosha is not just to keep Torah and mitzvahs, again, it's to keep them not because of reward and punishment, it's because I want to bring nachas to Hashem. You see, when I'm a person that views themselves as someone that wants to be a nachas giver to Hashem, do you know what happens to my image, to my self-image, to the way that also I start talking to my children about Hashem? And the way I start talking to anybody about Hashem, it's a different ball game. It's a completely different world. So you should all be zochot to continue to be yourselves, to take on that bracha even deeper. Shasani Kirtzono. It's a proclamation. It's more like bracha. It's not just a blessing. It's basically it's like a statement, a reminder of like, wait a second. That's right. Within me, there's this thing called a true desire to give Hashem nachas. That's why I do half the stuff that I do. And to keep, that's where it starts, and to move forward from there. There won't be shir next week because of Sunday morning. We're going to have a special Hanukkah shir, but next Thursday morning there won't be shir. We'll continue Bezrat Hashem after Hanukkah. Shkoyach.